right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 4 of the Nampa School District Podcast, hosted by myself. My name is Tyler Keefe. I'm the NSD Digital Communications Specialist. And along with me today, kind of floating off to the side like he's Wizard of Oz, is Matt Sizemore, NSD's Community and Media Relations Specialist. One thing we keep on forgetting to say is make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, whatever else is out there that this is going to, because you want to, as we keep going more and more into the year, you're going to get some insights, news, events from our district, and we're going to highlight the amazing achievements of students, teachers, and the community. Matt, I know you're not here physically, but how are you doing?
Oh, geez. Not too bad. And I apologize to anybody that's watching this on YouTube or whatever other video service you use. I am usually, as you know, in studio, but today my little 3-year-old daughter decided, you know what, I'm going to have a fever all night. And this morning, again, I don't know if she decided that, but that is what's happening. So taking care of her for a while till I can get in later in the day. But otherwise, I'm doing okay. I'm almost awake, and I'm super excited for the guests we have coming in today, or who are already there with you. I say coming in because I'm sitting in my garage. That's fun. But of course, we want to welcome in the 3 lovely ladies that, Tyler, you have the pleasure of getting to hang out with. That would be Dr. and or Coach Kelly Rich, the cheer coach for Nampa High. Welcome in, Dr. or Coach Rich.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And of course, she's brought 2 of her wonderful cheerleaders with her. They would be Ileana Ross, who's a senior at Nampa High, as well as Annabelle Leal, a sophomore at Nampa. Ladies, welcome in. So happy to have you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Matt, before we get started here on the background and everything for Dr. Coach, I do kind of like that Dr. Coach instead of saying Dr. Rich or Coach Rich. Let's just say Dr. Coach. So Dr. Coach and I, we go back a few years. We've both been in the district for quite a while. But now, so previous to your current position, you were a district instructional coach, doing a lot of the math, not a lot of the math, doing the math stuff, I should say. But now you're back in the classroom. So kind of going into the background before Matt gets into his other fun stuff, kind of give us your brief elevator speech of your career with NSD.
Sure. So I started at Willow Creek Elementary, teaching kindergarten. And then I obtained my doctoral degree and decided that I wanted to help teachers build capacity in mathematics. And so I joined the team here at the district office on the CNI team and worked for 6 years to help establish just a culture of teachers coming together and learning how best to teach mathematics to elementary kids so that we can help them be successful in the classroom. And then I decided I really missed kids. And so I wanted to go play in a space that I hadn't taught before. And I had never been in that intermediate grade band. So I asked if I could be in 5th grade and tackle those really challenging standards. 5th grade is a very, very tough year. And so it was really fun. I enjoyed, last year was my first year into the classroom since being at the district office, and it was great. I love thinking with 5th graders. So,
you know, one thing funny about 5th graders, I taught 5th grade for 15, 16 years. So when you're saying challenging standards, my brain goes to challenging students. But I mean that in the best way possible, because they're still in that like go between they're still a kid, but then they want to be the adult. And it's like, nope, you're still 10.
Yep.
You're 11. But I mean, it's funny years. I truly, truly loved every single year that I was in the classroom. And there are days, I say days, that I miss being in the classroom. And then I get to go out and take pictures in 5th grade classrooms like, all right, I'm good. I'll go back to my normal day job.
I think what's best is I hang out with these kids, and 5th graders want to be high school kids. And so it's really fun to look at the way that they are the same and how they are different. But it helps me relate to 5th graders when before I related really well to kindergartners. It's quite a jump to 5th grade, but not when I hang out with these girls all the time. So
yeah, me and kinder, no, never. I could do it. I have my degree in K-8, but it's like, nope, I'm not going to go down to kinder. There's no way.
I love it. We did a mini camp last week, and Annabelle was there, and Those little tiny ones are so fun, but it takes a different approach for sure.
Yes.
They got some energy, let me tell you.
So on the note of being Dr. Coach, but jumping to the coach side, you of course are the head coach at Nampa High. So how long have you been involved with Nampa Cheer? How long have you been the head coach there?
So Nampa Cheer, this is going into my 8th season with the program. Prior to that, I've coached since, I'm pretty sure it was 1997 when I know you have to go back into the old days.
No one was alive then.
Yeah, no one was alive. We had a horse and a carriage to go to cheer practice. But that's when I started, was coaching in the late 90s. And then I was actually coached at Mountain View when Mountain View opened. And then we took, my husband and I both were coaching and had 2 little kids. And we were like 2 ships passing in the night. And so we both decided it wouldn't be fair if only one of us quit. So we both pushed pause on coaching. And that's when I spent 10 years judging. I was in the judging circuit for all of the cheer competitions in the state of Idaho, which in the early 2000s was not near as robust as what it is now. So I was kind of part of that evolution in the competition world. And then when Nampa opened up, my husband he's the athletic director at Lone Star, and his cup was full. And so I said, okay, I want to be back in the cheer world of coaching, and I want to be part of a community where I teach the children that I later coach. And so that is why I applied for the Nampa job.
Nice. Gotcha. So what a background that is, and getting back into it. I'm glad you added on the cheerleading circuit, so you didn't just leave it at I judged people for 10 years. So that worked out nicely.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, but as well as Annabelle and Ileana here, I know that you all have some high accolades with Nampa High. Tell us about some of your achievements with Nampa Cheer.
Sure. Do you want the girls to start, or do you want me to
Sure. Yeah, let's hear from the ladies.
All right, Ileana. What are our accolades?
Well, Nampa won districts for 5 years, and we won our very first year in 5A, which was my first year at Nampa. And we also, that year, our first year in 5A, were 3rd in Idaho in the 5A, our very first year.
Yep. Which is now the newly named 6A. Yeah. And so I would say with moving into 6A, 5A, basically moving up into that category, it took quite a bit of strategizing on our coach's behalf. We had to rethink the division and how to structure our program so that we could remain competitive. And last year, unfortunately, we fell short of that district title. So we had 5 straight consecutive district championships. And then last year, Owyhee High School obtained that. It was well-deserved. Their team was fantastic. But we have now restructured our thoughts and really did a deep dive into what does that look like for Nampa. How does Nampa remain in the highest division and remain competitive in our district and at the state level? And so my coaches and I sat down in March and started thinking about just looking back at our history, like what worked, what didn't work, what can we add to, who are we competing against, what are those elements that we really needed to focus on. And we're brought back to our trusty UCLA coach, John Wooden, and his pyramid of success. They're nodding because they know I say it all the time. My favorite story about John Wooden is when he took his elite athletes and taught them how to properly put on a sock and tie a shoe. And I mean, he has the top basketball players in the country sitting, learning to tie their shoe, and listening to them retell that story is very fascinating because John Wooden understood that even though they're fantastic athletes, they're coming to him as fantastic individual athletes, and basketball is not an individual sport, it's a team sport. And so they had to build like a culture of understanding each other and trusting each other in their foundational skills. And so we have really grabbed onto that and have built our season in the preseason on building foundational skills. We have gone into just those really critical foundational pieces of dance and cheer, but then also crowd leading and stunting. And a big part of crowd leading is what we've been missing. And that was kind of our missing link, is that we used to have this enormous bulldog spirit that was built from, like, what I inherited a beautiful culture at Nampa High of bulldog spirit. And over the course of the years, given COVID and just a lot of different things that impacted our kids, we lost that generation to some degree that understood what it meant to have bulldog spirit. And so part of that is to build that within our own team and building the trust and levels of cooperation that it takes when you are learning to do those foundational skills together. You notice that I can trust you because I've watched you build the same skills that I've built. So when it's time to put those skills into work and have high level execution, we've built a team. However, that game experience has to be poured out onto our athletes and also into our crowd. Because, there's always that underdog that wins in a home setting that was never expected to win. And a huge part of that is, A, they probably have fantastic foundational skills, and B, you have a great home experience where their crowd is electric. And that is what we hope to bring back to Nampa, because when you feel that electricity in the stadium, it transmits to all the athletes on the field. And so what I want our kids to start recognizing this fall is that electrifying feeling of bulldog spirit, so that then they can take that when we go to our individual competitions. We have an amazing following. Like our parents and our fans come, even when they're alumni parents, they're friends of, it's not just cheerleader parents sitting in the stands. It is a huge group of Nampa fans. And so we want to take that and spread it across our community so that we can truly bring that back. And I think that's going to help give us that edge this year.
Well, one thing you mentioned being at home and Friday nights. I mean, it's fantastic. I love Friday nights. I'm looking so forward to it. Matt, you have not got to experience Friday Night Lights here in Nampa yet. But one thing in my position where I get to go to all three high schools, it's different at each school in a different way, and not in a bad way by any means. Columbia's building their school spirit still. They're the newest of the three high schools.
Yeah.
Skyview has some, but it's just a different atmosphere over there. It's electric. It's just different. And then Nampa, it's like, holy cow, this is something way different than the other three,
right?
Or the other two, excuse me. But I still remember, I believe it was 2 years ago now, I was on the sidelines one of the first Friday nights, and you're like, hey, the girls are going to do something, I don't know what it's called, where they just go way high in the air. And I'm like, okay. And I get this picture where I think it's like 20 feet in the air. Maybe it's like 10. I don't know. But I'm just like, holy cow. And I didn't realize it until I got home and I was editing the pictures. I'm like, that's awesome.
It was very iconic.
And yeah. You know which picture. One I'm talking about.
I can see it.
And
yes.
And so going to you gals, I know you said you're not the Flyers. I believe they're called Flyers.
They are called Flyers. These are called bases.
The bases. Being the bases, you're tossing the Flyer up, but she's got to have faith that you're going to catch her.
Yeah.
And so kind of walk through that, because you mentioned the foundational pieces, and the whole time I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask this question because you guys have to set the foundation for her. And it goes back to the trust.
Yep.
Like way, I don't even know. And I don't know why a thumbs up just showed up on the screen there. You guys didn't see that, but kind of
that was weird
for us.
Okay, so going back to like the whole teamwork that we discussed earlier,
when we're stunting, so in the process of throwing someone, it really takes a whole like synchronization of everyone knowing what's going on in the stunt to make sure that she doesn't fall. And our job as the bases is to always make sure that we catch them. That's our number one priority, to make sure our flyer's okay. So as we're going, it is pretty terrifying though, like if they're coming at you, but I think we're pretty good at like making sure everyone is like knowing what's going on in the stunt, helping each other, and making wise decisions. So if we know something isn't going right, we'll like settle to, what's it called? Like
You adjust.
yes.
You adjust grips. You'll bring it down to a safer level.
Yes.
You know
that's the
how
word.
to find the progression
Yes.
in an instant. And it really is in an instant, especially when music is playing. They have counts they have to hit. And there's certain times where they're not just holding a foot, they're throwing a foot. They're throwing a girl to go to another set of catchers.
Yes.
Um,
Because everyone relies on each other, and there's parts in our routines where we do like a pyramid. So it's when multiple stunts happen and we're all having to be connected. So if something goes wrong in one of them, like Coach said, we have to think like instantly how we can fix it so that we don't mess up the rest of the sequence.
your backup plan.
Yes.
That's what we call them. Okay, what's your backup plan? And we'll spend time later in the season once we have those sequences put together where we'll say, let's pretend this one doesn't go. What's your backup plan? Right? And so they actually practice what to do if there's a failure somewhere in that sequence so that it's still safe and smooth. And a lot of times we can fake it to where people don't notice. I tell them all the time, the crowd doesn't know unless you let them know. So don't let them know.
Just keep smiling, keep going.
Yeah.
Gotta play the what if game.
The what if game. What if this? What if that?
And you have to make sure that your team and like the people you're under or you're flying on know that they know that you know what to do to keep everyone safe.
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting you bring up, they need to know what happens when they fail.
Mhm.
It's funny, like in today's culture, we have this perfection. Everything has to be perfect. And then I've seen it a lot in the classroom where a kid gets something wrong, they just shut down. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, failure. It's the acronym that I always brought in. It's the first attempt in learning.
Yep.
And in this case, though, you have to prepare. Like, hey, everything could go wrong, but then you have to keep that straight face. You have to keep smiling and keep going. Because I've been out there where I can't remember what high school it was, but it was 2 years ago. Not a Nampa High kid, but a cheerleader fell. And I remember the whole crowd like, oh,
Mhm.
and then, but they just got back up and just kept going. It's like, okay, I don't think I could have done that, but it's all right, here we go. And, bringing that livelihood to the crowd. I can say when I played football in high school, I remember feeling that and looking at the cheerleaders, they're the ones bringing it, which then translates to the field. And then it's like, okay, we can get over this hump. We can get out there and get it going.
Yep. Absolutely.
So Matt, that's something that for you, this fall that you're going to be able to really experience. There's truly, you have the iconic scene at the Rose Bowl with the sunset going on, but at Nampa High in the fall, like you get the best sunsets. Like
Mhm.
it is fantastic. And then, the last year the team didn't win a game. I don't think they won a football game, which was sad. But in all honesty, they were in every single game. It was within one or two scores up until the very end. And I can say to your, compliment and your compliments, you guys kept going the whole time. And it was crazy. I was on the other sideline at the Eagle game. I remember looking over and the girls are still still going. And at that point, it was a 7-point game.
Yep.
And it's like, they can still win this game. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys are bringing the heat,
Thank you.
with that. So,
Yeah.
definitely I want to say, keep that up. So Matt, you had a question in our notes here, and I'll just go ahead and ask it since I'm just rambling. But we know that the schedule,
That's fair.
Yeah. We know that the schedule for high school sports is crazy, especially when the season starts. This year, going into a Tri-6, the schedule is going to be a little different. 4-day week, it's going to be even more different. So what does the off season versus season schedule look like for your program?
Or is there an off season?
Well, that's a very good question. Ileana, do you want to talk about the length of our season?
I would love to. We are in cheer for 10 months out of the year. So we're pretty much in cheer for an entire year for 4 years straight if you do it all 4 years. And then the 2 months you have off, Coach tries her best to just like enjoy it and, you know, have that time off because we've been together for a very, very long time. But
Lots of memories.
in that short period of time that we do have off, it's really important that we try to like keep thinking that we do have cheer in 2 months, and we need to keep up with like all of our physical and mental like wellness, because when you get back into it, it's really hard to get back into it if you haven't been like keeping yourself healthy for a cheer.
Correct.
It takes a lot to get back into it. So in the off season, you try to make it easier to get back in.
Cheer is huge mentally and physically, so you have to keep everything at that high level, or else you're gonna crash.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah,
Some of
quite
the
possibly
things
literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, very true. Some of the things that we're doing this summer. So we practice Mondays and Wednesdays throughout the entire year. We've decided that morning practices are not paying the dividends that they used to. A lot of the mindset of athletes and just teenagers now are more productive in the evening than they are in the morning. And 7-8 years ago, they just had a different mindset. Is truly a different generation of athletes. And so that 5:30 a.m. grind, 5 days a week, where we used to be 7 or 8 years ago, is not as productive anymore. So we will practice Mondays and Wednesday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. And then we will practice on Fridays in the morning at 6 a.m. to help just continue that stamina of getting up in the morning, because a lot of our competitions are early in the morning. And so it is to our benefit to train our bodies to get up. But the 6 hours of practice in the evening has paid much more forward than the morning practices. So that training that you're asking about in pre-training, I'm trying to just build their endurance through the summer and into the early parts of the fall, with our focus mainly on those foundational pieces, and then building routines that help bring the heat, like you said, Tyler, to our football games, so that we can put something out there that helps electrify the stadium. So, and then in late summer, early September, that's when we'll begin working on our competition routines, and our focus shifts from how to build that spirit in the stadium into how do we continue to build that into ourselves, because that is where it's not golf. It is a team sport, and we all have to work together and build that together. So
I'm going to ask one last question here, Matt, before you get into yours. I know that there have been some athletes that have gone from your team to the next level.
Yeah.
I know one recently, I cannot remember his name, but I believe he's still cheering.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of talk to what's next for any of the athletes once they graduate from Nampa High?
Yeah, absolutely. So at least one or two every year since I've started, I'm pretty sure, have gone on to cheer at either Boise State, Idaho State, and next year there will be a couple that go to the University of Idaho. So Stephanie Higgins, she's the dance coach. She and I started coaching together when I was the head coach. She was my assistant coach, and we always had a dream to help athletes in both cheer and dance go to that next level. And the way that they have to be prepared is to understand how to cheer at a football game as a cheerleader and as a dancer. And so we integrated a lot of the dance into our performance on the sideline, so that if they went and tried out, they had that component built in. But then when Stephanie took on the role of head coach of the dance team, that's when we decided to build a spirit squad, so that dancers that wanted to go try out for Mainline or any of the other universities, they knew how to stand at a football game and lead the crowd like a cheerleader would. So we've had multiple athletes right now. One of our former alum, she was a cheerleader, but she was a fantastic dancer. So she cheers for Mainline, she dances for Mainline. she has now returned to us to help build our capacity in the elements of dance. She was there last night
Love her.
teaching. Love her. Just a fantastic experience to bring back your athletes. And then I think you're speaking about Tegan. So
Yep.
Tegan is cheering at Boise State. Dakota is also cheering at I think he's done cheering at Boise State, but he did all 4 years at Boise State, 5 because of COVID. Yep. And it's really cool to watch them grow into that, because the collegiate level is a completely different expectation, but it's fun for them to come back and tell me, Coach, like, you actually taught us a lot of those moral principles that are translating into what we need at Boise State. So, and at ISU, and then I'll tell you if it works at University of Idaho next year. But it's really heartwarming to know that what they're learning here in regards to their ethics and building that energy with the crowd is very, very helpful when they get in front of a bigger stadium.
That's great. That's amazing to hear. You're preparing them for the future, and so many are moving on to do big things. I wanted to ask the girls, a 10-month schedule, and it sounds like it's all going to good use with the amount of guys and girls you have moving on and whatnot, and getting those fundamentals and whatnot for the future. But I think about when I played football and track in high school back 100 years ago, and it was, once you hit summer, of course there was a little spring ball, just kind of a little bit, but summer, that's when you started really thinking about football. Then of course you go into the fall, it's football. Then winter, a little bit of track stuff, and then you get into that. But there's no time to stop thinking, I would assume, about cheering when it's 10 months. So for the girls, how is that schedule for you? Is it something that it's a little difficult for you, or is it something you thrive off of?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So cheer is very busy, and it keeps me on my toes, honestly. It gets me out the house, keeps me going, keeps me active, keeps me out of trouble, honestly. Our coaches hold us to really high standards on how we present ourselves to everyone in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, yeah.
That's a good way of saying it.
How we act as a person holds us to a standard. It just helps.
Yeah, going back to what Annabelle was saying about how we present ourselves, cheer has definitely made me I think a lot more about what I look like when I'm Coach taught us she doesn't just cross her arms at practice or at football games. And now when I'm out in the public, I don't like doing that because it does make you look closed off and reserved, and I don't want to look like that. And it also it keeps me accountable of doing my duties in a timely manner, because there's no time to mess around and leave. There's no time to mess around when you're doing cheer, because you always have something to do. So you need to really manage your time to do everything you need to do.
And one thing I want to follow up on that, Matt, is, we mentioned this in an episode or two ago, but, we talk a lot about sports and activities, and, that kind of drove us doing this podcast. But the one thing, and I believe they both said it, that if it wasn't for cheer or dance, then they would be doing who knows what, getting into trouble, as you said, Annabelle.
Robbing banks.
And yeah, probably, get that ski mask on. But we like to focus on those things, not because academics aren't important. They're extremely important, but I can speak to myself. Football kept me in school. Mm-hmm. You're saying that cheer is keeping you in school. And that's a huge thing. So when we do spend a lot of time talking about these things, it's not because academics aren't important. It's a driving force behind things. I'm sure, Dr. Coach, I still love that. As I'm sure you would attest to, that you've probably had numerous kids throughout your years that if it wasn't for cheer, who knows what they would be doing right now.
Right. Yeah. In fact, we have senior meetings every Monday, and then on alternating Mondays, a different grade level will join us. And yesterday, the freshmen joined us in our meeting before practice. And the big topic that just organically emerged from what we were studying in our book with the seniors was our successes. And 2 students that are seniors were their biggest success is their academics. And one is taking AP classes and was very, I think, helpful in explaining to the freshman how to prioritize her time and the dedication that it takes to be successful in school. And that adding cheer to that helps her with her planning and just dedication to she wants to be successful in cheer and in school, which takes a lot of sacrifices. And so she shared that. Then another athlete shared that she understands who she is as a learner and builds her schedule based on how she can feel successful in the classroom and still be successful on our team. And so it was really cool to listen to two different perspectives on academics that are still leading to success in the classroom and success at cheer, and sharing that with our underclassmen was really an important thing for them to hear. And then I get messages here and there from former athletes. That I just got one from Dakota. I'm pretty sure he was in Washington, D.C., doing an amazing stunt up in the air. And his note to me said, "I can't believe that this is where I'm at. This is, it's because of Nampa Cheer." Like he was a cool band kid that we recruited to come do cheerleading. And he said, I never would have imagined that this is what cheerleading, where it would have taken me. And I just think that there's a lot more than cheerleading that's built into our program. And I try to instill that in our athletes, that I'm not teaching you just cheerleading. I'm teaching you how to be a productive human being out in the world, regardless of what your career aspirations are. And closing your arms like this, it's called positive body language. If you stand with your arms crossed and you're watching other people, it makes you look, like you're not open and welcome. And so we really I work on teaching kids how to stand with a positive body language, which I think translates amazingly into the business world. I mean, you go into ask for a job, you need to know how to have positive body language and look people in the eye. And so it's fun that you said that. Thanks.
Yeah. Note to self, don't cross arms anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It really does send a very negative message,
Yeah.
unless you are doing it to your 3-year-old. And then I feel like that's an appropriate place.
It doesn't matter. I've learned that. So, that's just, incredibly motivational. There is nothing like, outside of course, being raised with wonderful parents who love and care for you, having a coach or coaches that are going to be there to mentor and do those kind of things like you're doing with them. So that's just so great to hear. And we're looking to wrap this up. So of course, with everything you've said, with all the accolades that have been going on with Nampa High, or Nampa High's cheer team, I guess the big question, where's the public going to be able to see you next? I would assume sometime when school starts.
Yeah. Friday Night Lights, that will be our first debut. Mm-hmm. We also have, we put on mini camps for our elementary school kids. So we'll be at their schools, passing out flyers. So as you're dropping off your children to their school, be looking for our cheerleaders in the first part. Right after Labor Day, we'll be at all the campuses, passing out flyers, encouraging our youth. It doesn't matter what school you go to. Our desire is to build up all of the elementary school age children in the way of cheerleading, so that if we raise the water, we all go up. And so that's where you'll see them in their community, and then on the stage, you will see them at Friday Night Lights.
Perfect. Well, Matt, it has been fun not having you here.
Thanks.
Totally joking. But ladies, definitely, thank you for coming in. Thank you for taking time in your summer. I know you said you like to have more evening stuff, so apologies that it was in the morning.
Well, they got out of their workout. Their teammates are actually really happy because when I'm the coach that leads their workout at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning and I'm here, I just have to say, I guess you better sleep in.
Yep.
Well, there you go. It worked out for
Well
everyone.
planned.
It did.
It's a win-win.
And, you know, again, thank you for coming in. Thank you for everybody that was listening. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, wherever else, as I said at the beginning, so that you can catch our latest episodes. Matt, I hopefully will get to see you in person here today once your daughter gets feeling better. But until next time, everybody, thanks for joining in, and we will see you later.
Hey, well, really quick, unless you're putting up that music, can we just end with ladies? Can I be corny and ask you to just throw in one synchronized "Go Bulldogs"?
Okay.
Do you want to got that dog in you?
I got this.
Even better.
No.
Oh, never mind.
She's got it. She's got
You
it.
don't want to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't want
Oh yeah, we're not.
Oh, that makes it even better. Do it.
I'll
No.
help you. I'll
You'll
bark.
do it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll
You're gonna
bark.
bark for us?
I'll
This is
bark
what we
for
do.
you.
This is what we do at the end of every practice, every game,
Every event.
everything.
Everything.
But
Yes.
it might be changed up this year.
We'll see.
Okay.
We wait for our inspiration to come, but so far this one has stuck around the longest.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go Annabelle.
You got that dog in you?
I got that dog in me.
Ruff, 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 ruff.
Bulldogs on 3!
1, 2, 3, Bulldogs!
Beautiful. Thank you, man. I wanna start every show with that.